Spring is upon us. Things are starting to flower. Pascha is just 2 weeks away. And for some reason, I always manage to get my kulich done at the last minute. But in those years that I actually bothered to make them myself. And the reason why I don't really make them myself is because I kind of screw up things that involve flour and dough. So this year I decided I'm going to try to get it right. And I reached out to Kulich. He gave me some starting points. Let me see what I can make of this. This is definitely not a simple recipe. There are a lot of ingredients and there's also a lot of instructions to follow. So let's see how badly I can mess this one up. I have a whole 2 weeks after all, so I should be okay. Well, I always get the best butter I can. That really does help with the flavor. I think it does anyway. Always get fresh yeast. No reason to take chances on old yeast. A little almond extract. I have some vanilla extract at home. And we got some spices here, allspice. I decided to opt for almonds for the glazur because I don't really care for the sprinkles, honestly. Parchment paper. Soon, my friends, soon. Okay, well, they didn't have everything as usual. When you look for a lot of ingredients, someone's going to be missing something. So we'll get some more stuff here. But unfortunately, there was no rose water anywhere. That was a problem. Well, I don't know, maybe it won't be a problem, but we'll find that out, I guess. Okay, let's see what we have at home. Lemons are not a problem. Since I spent $50 in one of the grocery stores, I got a free dozen eggs. This would have been considerably more valuable about 2 months ago, but I'll take it. You know you're not getting away doing any kind of Easter dessert without using lots of sugar. I wonder if you can use monk fruit. That would be interesting. And here is its sinister looking cousin, powdered sugar, which you're going to need for the glazur. That looks like the approximate amount of honey I need to have just to warm that up, and that should be fine. I think all of you somewhere have an old bottle of rum that you never drink. As for vanilla extract, well, this vanilla extract has ancient, and frankly, there are very expensive vanilla extracts out there. I don't know what the deal with it is, but I do have this, which is vanilla bean, and Kulich told me that I can use this instead of vanilla extract, so maybe that's the right thing to do here. Panko breadcrumbs. Oh, Kulich didn't say panko breadcrumbs, but panko breadcrumbs should work just fine, I hope. Nutmeg. Some stuck raisins, which can be unstuck by doing this a lot. And unfortunately, it looks like I needlessly bought 5 spice because I have a whole bunch of it right here. And I also found that I also have cardamom from ages ago. Now, we have a problem. We don't have enough flour, and I thought I did. Well, let's take chances and try self-rising flour with this recipe and see how that works. Okay, I'm not going to go out in the rain right now and get flour because I'm going to start hunting for rose water, and it's just going to be a big waste of time. So, self-rising flour actually has a leavening agent in it, which is not yeast, it is baking soda. So I'm not going to be using yeast with this recipe. I'm going to use the self-rising flour just as is. I heard that self-rising flour is actually recommended for a lot of cake recipes. The new Russian version of kulich likes a spongy kulich, which I don't really like. I like more the crumbly version. So maybe this will work, and maybe it'll be a total disaster. Let's find out. All right, 6 to 7 cups of sifted, maybe even twice sifted flour. Now, every time I work with flour, I get it all over the house. And I absolutely can't stand it, just like I can't stand drywall dust. Now, I'm sure there's a good reason for sifting your flour, but I don't want to do that. Now I'm warming up this milk, getting it just below boiling. And the honey also gets a nice good hot bath here because that keeps it fluid. We got to prepare 8 egg yolks. And now for the magic moment. The first thing we're combining are the egg yolks and the 1.5 cups of sugar here. And we got to just keep beating this. We pick up the speed a little bit. We add the honey, which is nice and liquidy now. And once it's been going on for a while, it's got to produce like this white ribbon, as Cato described, and that's exactly what we have here. We incorporate the milk, just pick up the speed a touch here. And now we've gotten this nice and mixed up, so it's time to switch over to a dough hook. All right, here we go. We're gonna put this flour. We're starting at between the 6 to 7 cup range, and we'll see how we do here. Now that I've added quite a bit of flour, I'm gonna start adding some of this softened up butter, sweet butter, not salted, of course. See, this is why I hate doing stuff with flour. It's all over the place. And I keep having to add more and more flour. I'm trying to help things out with the spatula a little bit. Make sure that we're incorporating nicely here. And boy, it really wants more flour. The uncertainties of working with flour. You just never know how much you need. I should have actually started soaking my raisins at the very beginning, but it's never too late. Just fill it up with rum. Boy, this really has a voracious appetite for more flour. And here we have all of our spices all ready to get mixed up and thrown in at the right time. 3 egg whites to soft peaks. Now, this dough is still not looking close to where it needs to be. Let me just give it a touch test, and indeed, very sticky. So now I'm using that spatula to incorporate things better and to test how it feels. Still not doing well, as you can see here. Now I know I still have to add more wet ingredients here, so I'm not getting too bent out of shape over this. And that includes all of our spices, some of which take a little creativity to get off the spoon, as you can see here. This stuff smells so good. I want to put this in my sirna pasta, I think. At this point, I'm starting to get quite impatient. This has been going on for well over an hour here. And as they say, siesta lubit ruki. So let's go manual and see if we get better results. Okay, I finally got it the way I need it. Maybe not 100% perfect, but about as perfect as I'm going to be able to get it right now. We'll see. I don't know. Did I over knead it? Did I whatever? I did my best here. Now I'm going to put the raisins in, put it in this buttered bowl, and set it to rise. Okay, I heated up the rum so the raisins are plump, and now I got to drain this. Okay, in you go. It's a lot of raisins. I might want to hold off on putting all of that in here. I got to knead this in here, which with one hand will not work too well. All right, here we are, all buttered up. And let's see what this rises to. Right now it is 7:07. We'll revisit this in a couple of hours. Now, somehow this has to get cleaned up. This is why I hate doing things with flour. All right, now let me see if I can catch a few minutes of sienna. I don't think I have much left, but give it a shot. I have to say I'm very proud of the fact that I at least attempted to do this a whole 2 weeks before Easter, because whenever I do it on the last week before Easter, there are services. I spend too much time doing that and doing my sirna pascha, and your back is just totally wasted by the end. So I'm hopefully doing the right thing here. We'll see. Maybe this is going to be a disaster, and I think in that case I'm just going to have to buy it at my parish bazaar. Thank God that exists. Turns out church is closed. Maybe I didn't check my schedule or something. I don't know. But I made an effort. That counts for something. Это называется прийти в церковь и замок поцеловать. And now a conversation about your Kulich can. Yes, this is actually quite important, so listen up. Here we have the most classic Kulich can, which is a coffee can, right? And the reason why, outside of its availability and outside of the fact that it's made out of metal, which means your kitchen isn't going to smell like burnt paper from the Quaker Oats cans, this guy has a very good lip over here, you see? It's pretty smooth. So if you have your Kulich in here, it should be pretty easy to get it out, except this does have ribs on it. And these ribs, if your Kulich really bakes into these ribs, right? I mean, that's why we use the parchment paper, but still, it can get, caught on this a little bit. That can be a little bit of a difficulty sometimes. Well, you see how it goes. This is a better can in one sense. It doesn't have any ribs, but there is a little bit of a bevel at the edge over here, which can also make for some trouble potentially. This over here is right out. You would never want to use something like this because take a look at that bevel over there. You see? This bevel can very easily create a very big problem if you're trying to get your Kulich out of something like this. It might not come out at all, as a matter of fact, from something like this. So don't use something like this. And now here is an advanced space age option. If you just go to your hardware store and you go for a 3-inch duct tubing, you will get one of these, and you will have to cut it down to size with some aviator snips. Just be very careful. The metal here is extremely sharp. Definitely give you a nice cut if you're not mindful. And the good thing about this is not only is it the perfect dimension for your Kulich, it's got that nice classic missile shape, but it has no bottom. And that means that it's pretty easy to push your Kulich out of this guy. And of course, very smooth all around, no problems. The only thing you have to keep in mind with these, outside of not cutting yourself, is first of all, you have to have something to put this on when you're going to have it in the oven. And the second thing you're going to need to think about, you're going to have to work on is you're going to have to put this guy in the oven for about an hour or so at oven temperature, like 350, 400 degrees, because this comes with some kind of an industrial coating that you're going to have to bake off. You don't want that baking into your Kulich. Of course, you're going to use parchment paper, but you don't want the fumes of that to hit your Kulich. So just bake this in the oven for, I don't know, an hour or so at 350 or 400 degrees, and these are good to go. And now for the big moment we've all been waiting for. And so you wonder, how come the dough didn't rise? The answer is actually quite simple. Since this is self-rising dough, the rising actually happens in the oven. And the reason for that is because this does not use yeast. It uses baking soda. And baking soda is only activated when it is heated. So the nice thing about this Kulich is that you don't actually have to wait for the yeast to do its job. You can just put this in the oven and hopefully, it'll do the job right. All right, so here we have our parchment paper all buttered up as per Kato's instructions. And now we're going to put a little bit of breadcrumbs on here. Okay, so I've got to get these breadcrumbs. Kato said don't use too many. Well, I guess we'll have to find out what that means. Okay, hopefully the butter will make those breadcrumbs stick there. There we go. Now comes the somewhat tricky part of trying to get these pieces of parchment paper into the tubes. And it does take a little bit of effort here, and I think these tubes are a little too tall. I would like to trim them down. And here I'm plopping the dough straight into the tubes. Also got to press it down a little bit, and Kato did advise me that if I have a smooth top, then it will bake better. So now I have them on a pizza tray with holes underneath for the tubes, and here we go. 350 at 1 hour, and an hour later I'm poking them with the metal rod, and I notice it's a little spongy still. I don't like that, so they're going to go back, and finally here they seem to poke okay. I felt like they were not giving me any stickiness on the way out, and that is a sign that your Kulich is probably ready. Here comes the fun part, trying to get it out of that big coffee can here with a ridge around the lip, and as you can see, it is giving me quite a hard time here. Did not really work nearly as well as I thought it might work, unless I actually cut that lip off, which would have been quite a messy job. I'd have to use some aviator snips for that and have those sharp edges. And now we're about to get our very first sign of trouble here. As you can see, the kulich has separated, and some of that is, of course, the pressure I'm putting on it. But as you start paying closer and closer attention, if you notice the way this is baked, the consistency of the dough, it is quite different from a kulich. It's actually quite crumbly, which is not in a good kulich sense crumbly. It does not have any softness at all. This is not a good can. But look at these guys here. Let's try to get the kulich out of this guy now. Look at how easy that was, huh? Look at how easy that was. That was quite simple. See that? Well, let's see how it tastes. Weird. Really weird. Now what we have here is certainly not something that tastes bad in my opinion. The problem, though, is that this does not taste like a kulich. This tastes like a tasty biscuit that you would get, a sweet biscuit that you would get at a restaurant. And the reason why it does not taste like a kulich is because the leavening agent is not yeast, it's baking soda. And that will yield a different taste. So this is a very cake-like taste. It's kind of interesting, but I would give this a solid F as far as a kulich is concerned. Well, maybe not an F, but an F in the sense that it fails to be a kulich in the first place. Still tasty. But I wouldn't waste all that time for this. Now, had we done this correctly, there were some interesting flavors in here for sure. All those spices, for example, really look pretty interesting. So perhaps if I do this the right way, I'll be able to have an actual kulich that tastes good. Maybe I'll try that.
Oh man, good morning. I'm sweating, my palms and my feet are sweating watching the video. Yeah, if I could have only told you, don't use self-rising flour. You can't use it. I was sweating already. Oh! I saw the 5 spice. No, don't put the 5 spice in there. I didn't say anything about the 5 spice. And you probably didn't use it, but when you showed it, oh! Oh man. Oh, anyway, thanks for the laughs, thanks for the sweat. I was like sweating and when you put it on the table, wait, starting late. I told you, don't start late with this. You can't. You have to start in the morning. Don't drag it. I hope you're laughing. You don't start this late because, well, I'm wondering, when did you take the kulich out and taste it? What time of the night was that already? Like 12 midnight?
Still doesn't taste bad.